Have you ever wanted to be a detective? Making an inference is similar to thinking like a detective. Today you will learn what an inference is and how to make an inference. Let's answer our first question. What is an inference? Inferences help you have a better understanding of what is happening right now. Now for our second question. How do I make an inference? First, you need to gather evidence. You can use words or pictures to gather evidence about what is happening right now. To make an inference, you also need to use prior knowledge. Prior knowledge is what you already know coming into the situation. When you combine your prior knowledge with the evidence that you've gathered from the words or pictures, you are able to make an inference. Okay, detective, let's take the information that we just learned and use it to make some inferences about the following pictures. Remember, we will look at the picture, gather evidence about what might be happening, and use our prior knowledge to make an inference. Here is our first picture. What are some inferences you can make? One inference that you can make is that the woman in the picture is a doctor. There are several pieces of evidence that you can gather from this picture. First, the woman is wearing a lab coat. She also has a stethoscope around her neck. And finally, the woman is holding a baby. Now that you have gathered the evidence from the pictures, you can apply it with your prior knowledge. Prior knowledge tells you that doctors wear lab coats, doctors also use stethoscopes, and doctors sometimes work with babies. Another inference you can make by looking at this picture is that the baby is at the doctor's office getting a checkup. Again, we can look at the picture and gather evidence. The woman is wearing a lab coat, she has a stethoscope around her neck, and she is holding the baby. Prior knowledge tells you that babies need lots of checkups when they are first born and are growing. Great job, detective! I think you're ready to try another picture and some more inferences. What can you infer by looking at this picture? First, you need to gather evidence. One piece of evidence from this picture is that the girl is yawning. Another piece of evidence is that the girl has her eyes covered. Now, let's take that evidence and use it along with our prior knowledge to make an inference. Prior knowledge tells us that when people are tired, they yawn. Another thing that people might do when they are tired is cover their eyes. The little girl is doing both in this picture, so we can make the inference that the little girl is tired. Fantastic job! You're really doing great. Do you want to try one more? All right, let's do it. This time, let's use words to help us make an inference. It works in the same way. You gather evidence from the words that you read, you use your prior knowledge, and together you can make an inference. You can make inferences whenever you read. The first thing to do is read the passage. Sarah looked in the mirror and grimaced at her flushed cheeks and puffy eyes. Her body ached all over. She put on her bathrobe and reached for the thermometer in the medicine cabinet. Just as we did with the picture, we will need to again gather evidence before we can make an inference. Here is what we know. Sarah's cheeks are flushed and her eyes are puffy. Her body is achy. She is wearing a bathrobe and she's looking for her thermometer. Prior knowledge tells us that when people are sick, they have flushed cheeks, they could have puffy eyes, their body might ache, and they would need to take their temperature using a thermometer. A person who is sick might also try to feel more comfortable by changing into a bathrobe. Great job! You just used evidence from the text and your prior knowledge to make the inference that Sarah is sick. So, do you feel like a detective yet? You did an outstanding job with those inferences. Let's recap. An inference is having an understanding about what is happening now. To make an inference, you first gather evidence from the picture or words. Next, you need to think about what you already know that could be useful to the situation. Finally, you put your evidence and your prior knowledge together to make a decision about what is happening right now. That's it. That's all there is to making inferences. Great job, detective. Case closed.